Hello again, welcome to another edition of CropLife Retail Week. Paul Schrimpf here with Eric Sfiligoj.
Hello.
Hello. Quite a week, huh?
Wait, it's been fun since our last video, that's for sure. Not boring at all.
2 billion reasons to freak out this week.
That's right. And
Wow.
you want to put that in perspective. You could buy the Los Angeles Clippers basketball team for $2 billion. So that give you a clue there of how much money we're actually talking about.
I'm not sure that's the preferred option, but hey.
That's what I looked up. They sold for $2 billion a few years ago. So.
Okay. What can you buy for $2 billion? Is that what you Googled?
Yes.
Was that the extent of your research on this particular issue? Okay.
Pretty much. Well, if you want to put it in agricultural terms, if you had 2.57 acres of land and you had $2 billion in dollar bills, you could be able to stack that on that acreage, and those bills would be about 8 inches high. So it'll give you a perspective of just how much $2 billion actually is. I think it said, Paul, it was, if you spread it out end to end, it would be about 136 miles worth of dollar bills.
Wow.
I know.
That's a lot of cash.
Yeah, so now let's tell everybody why we're talking about $2 billion.
I think they know, but go ahead.
Well, again, this was the third glyphosate trial that took place in California. An elderly couple was claiming that the use of glyphosate from the 1970s forward had given them the cancer, and the jury agreed with them and awarded them, Paul, $2.055 billion in damages. So that's why we're talking about the $2 billion figure. Paul, I know that most of the legal analysts I've seen online say that in the state of California there's a certain cap on damage awards that can be awarded, and that this figure almost certainly will come down probably into the double-digit $1 million range, maybe low triple digits. But nonetheless, as folks are saying, this sends a message to Monsanto and Bayer that glyphosate is not to be trusted and should be not on the marketplace.
Yeah, well, I mean, they're going to be waiting until they get some number of lawsuits figured out here, I guess, over the next who knows, weeks, months. So, I mean, Bayer's going to hang on tight till we get through all the appeals processes and everything else. But
correct. And the next trial is coming up in Missouri, just outside of St. Louis, which of course was where Monsanto was headquartered, and Bayer still has a large research presence. So you would imagine, Paul, if that trial doesn't go well for Bayer, there could be some serious troubles further down the line.
Well, I can't at this point. I can't imagine any of them going particularly well. I mean, if it's just you think it was gonna continue to snowball unless something major changes. And I can't think of even what that would be. It's ugly. It's ugly and going to get uglier for a bit until they get it figured out. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, like you say, it's going to be a process we'll have to be following. But as these trials go on, we'll keep reporting on what we find out.
Yep. And then there's news. I guess we're getting some news in the Midwest about planting.
Oh, planting! Yes, the last few videos, of course, I've mentioned planting progress made in the states of Illinois and Iowa, and I've been getting a couple emails saying, "Hey, that's great, but what about nationwide?" So I did look up some numbers on that. So, Paul, nationwide, it's been cold and wet, of course, and corn is at 30% planted as of May 10th, and soybean was at 9%. And if you want to put that in some perspective, it's about 12 days, not quite 2 weeks, but 12 days behind the 5-year average for plantings this time of year. So, again, there's a lot of field work still to be done.
Yeah, it's just... Just the way it is this spring. What are you going to do?
Yeah, although we're getting a little drier here in Ohio. I know it's supposed to be nice for us, I think, for the next 3 or 4 days in a row, and hopefully that dryness will be spreading to parts of the Midwest as well, in places like Iowa and Illinois and Nebraska, so that some of this corn and soybean can actually get into the ground.
Yeah, well, I know I mowed my grass 6 times this year so far, which is, I think, an all-time record.
Keeping in mind, Paul has a lawn that's probably as big as our studio, and he still uses a mower that doesn't have an engine.
That's not true. I do.
You have an engine on it?
I actually have an engine now.
Wow, I'm sorry.
I collect clippings, and it's like, but it is electric because it's like it's stupid. I got a postage stamp of a yard, so I just plug it in. 5 minutes later, I'm done and in the backyard.
5 minutes of your life you'll never get back.
But it
takes me that long to do my tree lawn, I might add.
Well, aren't you special?
Yeah. And then the other thing to talk about, we mentioned last week, just before we went on air, that there was the possibility the China-U.S. trade war would heat up, that the tariffs would go up from 10 to 25%. And actually, just after our video went live, we did find out that indeed became the norm. I know President Trump and his administration have promised $15 billion in additional aid to growers in the U.S. affected by this. They're going to buy some crops and say they're going to distribute those to hungry nations around the world. But Paul, a lot of the scuttlebutt I've been seeing online doesn't seem like the growers are happy, and I know the trade groups are none too pleased as well. We got a press release from the folks at the American Soybean Association, and their president, Davy Stevens, had this to say regarding the additional tariffs. The soybean market in China took us 40 years to build, and as this confrontation continues, it will become increasingly difficult to recover. So, folks don't seem particularly happy out there right now. And I know I'm seeing a lot of stories online and hearing on, folks like National Public Radio talking to growers who are saying that this is, that they don't like the situation. They want to have their trade partner back in China and really are unhappy with the whole situation.
Yeah. I don't have much to add to that other than I growers are hopping mad in the Twitterverse and wanting this whole government intervention thing to just end as soon as possible. It's there's a lot of weight on them. They want to do the right thing and be patriotic and understand the nuances of the trade in terms of what we're trying to do. But boy, like I said, they're putting their businesses and their livelihoods on the line. This is not small potatoes, and even with the money that's coming in, it's besides the fact that it probably won't be enough, it's not something growers want to do. It goes completely against their nature.
Right, of course, uncertainty. And I know, Paul, unfortunately, based on what I was reading, some analysts online were saying that this trade dispute could end tomorrow. Or it could be, several months, on into even maybe the beginning part of 2020 before we actually see some resolution, depending on how entrenched the various parties are in their positions. So,
yep, absolutely. One last thing I just mentioned is I had written an editorial last month on Indigo, based on not having been able to get in to see them in between, of course, the print and the online version. I got a call, and I was able to actually go to Memphis and talk to the folks at Indigo, the CEO, and I was able to put a story together on that. That's at pschrimpf.com, and it's an interesting company. I think I think they see ag in terms of the wanting to decommoditize and provide more value for farmers, and I think it's a noble vision. It's going to be extremely difficult, and it's going to take a lot of change in the market to actually happen. But if you're interested in that, there's a story on pschrimpf.com. Please feel free to look that up and find out more. Interesting company, though.
All right. Well, we'll have to look to that. Thank you.
So that's it for this edition of CropLife Retail Week. We will see you next week. If you have questions or comments about today's episode of Retail Week, contact us by email or Twitter, or type your message in the comment section below.
Your feedback is important to us. We'll try our best to address your thoughts in next week's episode.
And be sure to subscribe to our YouTube channel.